Hello, my darlings, and welcome back to Conversations with My Higher Self. In this episode, we're going to talk about the spiritual reasons for being overweight. This has been requested by many of you that are struggling with the issue of having what you perceive as excessive weight and not being able to lose weight. And today I'm going to be providing my perspective on this issue and shedding some light on what are some of the spiritual precursors to this issue. Now, before we dive in, a couple of housekeeping items. The video of this podcast is available on my YouTube channel. It is under This Is Maria, Maria with a Y, Mariya. Please come check out my YouTube channel. Above and beyond this podcast, I upload other videos to YouTube that are exclusive to that platform. So if you want more from me, that is a place to find it. Secondarily, if you haven't read my book yet, I wholeheartedly invite you to come check it out. It is called 72 Keys to Manifestation, or An Ancient Path of a Modern Day Alchemist. That book is all about how to get from where you are today and how to build your best life, essentially. It is a book on manifestation, hence the title. But it is deeper than that. It is a deep spiritual book. It is a deep book on energy work. It contains 72 keys, ancient keys, timeless keys, shall I say. And each key is very, very practical. So each chapter, if you will, has practical guidance around how you can apply the principles in this chapter in your life to help you manifest essentially anything you want. All right, that book is available on Amazon. It is available on Audible and Kindle. So any format you could possibly want, we have it. All right, my darlings, settle in. We're going to talk about spiritual reasons for being overweight. Now, let me preface this by saying, nothing that I will share today in any way, shape, or form negates the fact that the issue of having extra weight is the issue of a physical body, which means that all of the things that relate to the physicality of this phenomenon are still true. In other words, there's nothing that I'm going to say here around the spiritual causes of being overweight that are going to negate the fact that a good, healthy diet or exercise should generally help you to stay in shape. However, I also find that, and by the way, it is no secret, that a lot of people really struggle to lose weight, and they struggle for years. And even if they do end up losing weight, they end up gaining it back, right? And it just seems so that the pure physicality of dieting and, excessive cardio, etc., ain't quite the answer. So today, I figured let's dive a layer deeper. If you have tried a bunch of diets, if it hasn't worked before, I invite you to look within. And I invite you to examine certain imprints that you have, energetic imprints, and certain habits, habitual thinking that you do have that may be the precursor to this particular phenomenon. All right, so let's dive into the reasons. While this is a pretty broad issue, right? And anytime I talk about an issue that impacts a large percentage of humanity or a big enough percentage of humanity, I always have to overgeneralize. So please take everything that I say with a grain of salt, because your case may either be an outlier case or a very, very rare case. Today, I'm going to have to speak to the general rule of thumb and the general reasons, right? I'm going to pick apart and offer you some of the more common reasons. Unfortunately, within the constraints of this episode, I cannot go into every single detail. Okay, cool. There are some energetic commonalities for all the people, or in all the people rather, that perceive themselves to be overweight, the people who struggle with losing weight as well. Now, what are these precursors? Very often what I find on the energetic level, somebody who has excess weight is somebody who is seeking to protect themselves from the outside world. Because of that, you are creating insulation material in the form of fat tissue. And it's almost like creating a buffer between the inner, more vulnerable parts of yourself and the outside world. Why do you want that? Why do you need those barriers? Why have you created them? And you have created them very, very successfully. The root cause of being overweight is hurt, actually, and pain being caused by somebody or something in the outside world. Very often, somebody with excess weight is going to have issues around self-concept, but specifically, victim mentality is going to be extremely front and center in their energy body. So they very often feel like a victim. They think like a victim. They talk like a victim. They perceive themselves like a victim. Very often, people who end up gaining weight over the course of their lives had a difficult childhood or a traumatic experience really early in life that made them feel like their world is unsafe or certain people are unsafe. And they had to be in the defense stance, trying to protect themselves from the world. In certain instances, you would gain weight if you have been abused as a child, in whichever way, shape, or form. There are many facets of abuse. There's verbal abuse, there's physical abuse, there's emotional abuse, there's even energetic abuse, frankly, right? Like energy vampires, etc., right? So if you have experienced abuse as a child, you may have developed a coping mechanism called excessive weight or extra weight, like extra padding. It's almost like you expect the world to not treat you right. And as such, you want to, again, create insulation, create a barrier between that core, very vulnerable part of yourself that feels pain, that feels deeply, that was hurt, that remembers every single way that you have been abused perhaps in the past, or every single instance where the world, and I use the world very loosely here, didn't do right by you, right? Now, very often, and that's another thing. So I guess the biggest fundamental shift here is, you guys, the number one thing you need to understand about weight, gaining weight, is that excess weight. And I hate even saying excess weight, because what is even that, right? Like, it's a perception in your mind. But for those of you that perceive that you have any, or you have some, I'm only using it within those constraints. Because from a position of your higher self, what you weigh, what you look like, it really matters not. Like, you can still get the lessons in life regardless of your height, how many pounds there are in your body, if that makes sense. It kind of doesn't matter, right? You can still have a very fulfilling life. You can have amazing, fulfilling experiences. I think the fundamental shift in thinking that we need to make is that when you have extra weight, it is your friend, not your foe. I think we have been making, quote unquote, fat our foe. Part of it is because we look at, models and Hollywood stars, etc., and all of these unattainable, frankly, modes of and standards of perfection and what you're supposed to look like, right? And it makes us feel extremely bad about what we look like. And so we have demonized certain aspects of ourselves, including our physical bodies to a large degree. We have demonized things like getting old, things like wrinkles, things like, under eye circles. We have demonized a lot of things. And weight is one of those things that got demonized along the way. We look at our bodies and we make ourselves wrong for that extra pound or a couple or 10 or 20. It doesn't really matter how many, right? But it has been demonized in our culture. And that is precisely the problem. Because weight is a friend, actually. Excess weight is a friend. It is not only does it provide the comfort, actually, for you that you cannot get elsewhere, it enables you in some instances to keep your sanity in the world that you perceive to be unsafe, right? So first and foremost, stop making yourself feel wrong for what you see on those scales in the morning, right? Because there is nothing, absolutely nothing wrong with you. However, if you perceive something to be a problem for you, or if excess weight is causing you health issues, right? And that is what makes you want to address it. That is where, I can be helpful, hopefully. So first things first, please know that there is a massive payback for you. Meaning, subconsciously, when your body gains weight, it is, like I said, a coping mechanism, a protection mechanism, and it is serving a purpose. There is an end game for this. It is not random, right? And it is not only because of your eating habits or your, hereditary, things that you got from your parents or whatever. It's not that, or it's not just that, shall we say, right? I would venture to say that one of the main reasons for gaining weight is mental and emotional and energetic, right? Or spiritual, if we would like to call it. And that is protecting yourself from the outside world, right? And then there is a massive, massive payback that you get from being quote unquote overweight. And that is a feeling of safety, a feeling of comfort, a feeling of not having to always be on guard and being able to actually function in society. That is your payback, right? So instead of demonizing this thing, let us accept that it is actually just a coping mechanism for you. Now, at soul level, you want as much healing as is possible. At soul level, as you evolve, and that is why you go on these missions we call lives and incarnations, at soul level, eventually you want to end up 100% healed or 100% whole. Experiences like abuse, experiences that cause you to feel less than or not enough or on your own or alone. Experiences that make you feel like you cannot trust people around you, sometimes including your own family. Experiences that make you convinced that you cannot trust the world are building blocks upon which you're going to build your wholeness. Because each of these traumatic experiences, each of these emotional experiences are going to create like a little fissure or a little crack, right? Like a little fracture in you. And eventually it would be your job to heal that crack, right? And so we have an opportunity today to choose to step out of the victim mode and, work through our issues of trust. And that is going to be step one, right? This is going to be, in fact, healing these hurt aspects of yourself if you're trying to lose weight, understanding your own personal root cause of what was the traumatic experience, that made you want to subconsciously gain weight. Now, understanding what that root cause is going to be the biggest step you can take towards healing. There are other things that I would like to mention. This is a little bit like other reasons, rather. They are a little bit less frequent than the ones that I have mentioned. So if the first portion of this episode did not resonate with you, and you are somebody who perceives themselves as struggling with weight, then this next one may be up your alley. Sometimes when people feel insignificant, sometimes when people feel like there is not enough of them, for whatever reason, like not enough of me for my mom to love me or my dad to love me, not enough of me to get approval from somebody, not enough of me because I'm short, actually, like physically short, right? Not enough of me because, I don't know, maybe I'm a guy and my voice is a little bit too feminine or something. Like there's that feeling of like, oh my God, there's not enough of me. Sometimes people would develop excess weight to feel more substantial, to feel like bigger, so they can claim more space on the map. So in their own eyes, they can raise their own significance. Because obviously somebody who has more weight on their body is noticed a lot more than somebody who is, let's say, super skinny and short and just, very quiet, right? So sometimes actually gaining weight for your body is a cry for attention or a cry to be noticed. And very often it is actually a cry to be noticed by one parent, because usually something like that would be set up really early in life. It is if you feel invisible to one of your parents, like you cannot get enough of either your mom's time, attention, or love, or your dad's time, attention, or love, you may develop that excess weight. And again, because it serves you, because it increases your blueprint, your physical blueprint of your body, right? And it's gonna serve you until you're gonna build up that confidence elsewhere, right? That mental confidence, that emotional confidence, that energetic confidence. Once you have confidence in those places, you're not gonna need that extra space anymore physically. You're gonna be able to release and let go, right? And so the number one precursor to losing weight is feeling safe and feeling like you matter. Just feel into the vibration of that. Like feeling safe, 100% safe, and feeling like you matter the way that you are. Like you don't need to try hard. You don't need to do any of that. Like you already matter just as you are. That is the vibration that would enable you to get rid of that excess weight, if you'd like to, if that is something that is important to you. Now, the question is, how do you get to a place of safety? How do you get to a place of not feeling like a victim? How do you get to a place of wholeness from this pretty significant wounding that you may have experienced around feeling like you can't trust and you're not enough the way that you are? So maybe let's talk about where some of the healing needs to happen. A lot of the victim lives in our root chakra. I made a whole episode about the root chakra. So if you have perceived issues around weight, that is the episode that you may want to watch or listen to, the root chakra. I also did a root chakra meditation on our Sacred Universe podcast. You may want to check that one out. Because healing that trauma is going to be paramount. So a lot of your trauma dwells around, in the root chakra, which is around survival. When you don't have that safety around being able to live to see another day, or again, the not enoughness to some degree also lives in the root center. And yours goes really deep. It's like some deep set feeling of inadequacy. So for you, we're working with the shadow aspect of your own root center, the center that actually brings you and plugs you into our planet Gaia. So another thing that I will tell you, right, from people who have this issue around weight, very often it goes hand in hand with feeling hungry. Why do you guys feel hungry? And again, I'm not talking physiological reasons here. That is what your doctor is going to tell you. I am not here for that whatsoever. I will tell you that there is nothing wrong with you. What your body is feeling is being malnourished. But you're malnourished energetically. You're not malnourished physically. And your way of feeding yourself physically is a way that you're trying to solve the energetic malnourishment problem. What do I mean by this? Very often with people who have issues around excess weight, they are not taking resources from Mother Gaia, from our planet, from planet Earth. Energetically, our planet is our mother. As such, she is our energy donor. Because you do not necessarily perceive the outside world to be safe, you do not perceive that it is safe for you to take from Gaia. And so you refuse those energies that want to come through. You repel those energies. You're not taking them. Because you're not taking them, your body energetically is malnourished. So what do? You grab for physical food, because your physical food connects you to Mother Gaia, right? 100% of our food is birthed off our planet, right? We don't eat prana yet as a society, right? So whether you eat vegetables, you eat animal products, like whatever you eat, it came from Gaia. And so you are subconsciously trying to get that energy in the only way that you know how, which is food. And yet it never feels you, not really, because your hunger and your thirst is energetic and it's not physical. So how do you start feeding yourself? First, make a commitment and understand, right? The change starts with you. You can make a decision to trust this planet. Trust the planet. If you cannot trust the people, trust the planet. At least enough so that you can take her energy. How would you imagine that really quickly, energetically? What would that look like? The energy that you would get from Gaia. Now, there are two types. Sometimes people take energy through the soles of their feet. Sometimes people take energy from Gaia through the palms of their hands. Most of you are probably taking through the soles of your feet. But for this exercise, we can try both routes. That way you cannot go wrong. Literally, you want to close your eyes. You want to start with deep breaths to get yourself into the zone, to get yourself into the rhythm. And then you imagine that right in the middle of the core of our planet, there is a large red ruby. And that red ruby contains the energies of the red spectrum that are healthy, that are healing, and that you need so desperately in order to heal. I want you to imagine how you are putting both your feet and your hands on the ground, on the soil, and you are starting to absorb these ruby red energies into the palms of your hands and the soles of your feet in massive quantities, you guys, in massive large amounts. Take them all up. Take them up into your body and send them, whether they're coming through the hands or the feet, doesn't really matter, through the soles of your feet. Send them into your lower abdomen, there, like lower belly area, right by your tailbone. Over there is like a small, let's call it container that should contain red energies. And you guys are really low on the energies of the healthy red spectrum. So just absorb and fill that container. It's a glass container. It's a sphere. It's a spherical container. It's round. So absorb those energies and hold on to them. And as you hold on to them, I would like you to place your hands on your belly and tell yourself that these energies from your mother are safe, that you are safe. And it's okay for you to start break down the barriers between you and the world. It's okay for you to start shedding those protective barriers that come in the form of fat cells. It is safe, actually, for you. Because your mother is, she has your back. She's always going to provide for you. Energetically, emotionally, mentally, and otherwise, right? And so I encourage you, and by the way, if you have been struggling with the issue of, trying to lose weight for years, unfortunately, you cannot rewrite your most core pattern overnight. So you're going to have to keep working with the energies of the red spectrum. You're going to have to keep absorbing the energies from Gaia. And you're going to have to literally create a mantra for yourself around safety. I am safe. I can stand on my own 2 feet. I have what it takes. I'm enough. All of those things, literally write them down. Write them down as if it was like a therapy session, right? Just start writing down, I'm safe. I can trust this planet. I can trust the people around me. I can trust. It is safe to trust. It is safe to trust yourself. It is safe to trust others. So that is where the healing starts. Healing your root. And then starting to finally take energies from Gaia. Once you establish like a steady stream of energies from Gaia, you will notice that you don't want to reach out for that sandwich. You don't want to get that, drink, carbonated drink or whatever, sugary drink, right? Because you are going to be getting sustenance. Now, is that going to happen overnight? No, it's a process. Because building these walls around you has been a process. Tearing the walls down is going to be a process. All right. I'm ready to take the questions from the collective. Anything around this issue that you wanted to ask, here to receive the question. The question is, everybody in my lineage, or a few, generations of our lineage have all been overweight. So are you saying that we all have the same issue around like victim mentality and like trauma? Like, essentially the question is like, what are the odds that all of us have been abused as children? I love this question. Thank you so much for asking it. There are a lot of chronic conditions, shall we say, that run in families. And it is no coincidence because birds of a feather stick together. In order for you to be magnetized into a particular lineage, you have to be broken in the same way that the people in the lineage are broken. You have to be healed in the same way that the people of the lineage are healed. Essentially, it is the good old clusterization principle, or like attracts like. It's the law of attraction. We attract what we are. We get attracted to things of similar vibration. And yes, in fact, if you dig deep enough, you will see and you will understand that the flavor of trauma of your ancestors, your mom and dad, and their parents before them and their parents before them, has similarities to what you are experiencing at soul level. There are similarities, there must be, in order for you to be a vibrational match to your parents. So it's not that, let's call it obesity, runs in the families just because there are similar, let's say, habits around food or, exercise, but because there are similar kinds of trauma that are running in lineages. So once you heal your trauma, your children no longer have to experience this. They're going to be free. I'm ready to take another question. The question is, I'm only getting extra weight around my belly area. What does that mean? Is there a special significance when I feel like the rest of my body is okay, but like I have like a beer belly or whatever? Yes, thank you for asking this. So if you have a quote unquote, if you tend to accumulate extra weight around your belly area, what you need to think about from the energy perspective is what chakra is there, right? I'm kind of giving you the rope so you understand where I'm coming from, right? I don't want to just give you the answer. I want to give you how you can get to that answer yourself. Because it works for all the other parts of your body, right? You can do the same thing. What chakra is it the closest to? It is the closest to the solar plexus chakra, the chakra of self-concept. So there's something around your self-concept that causes you to want to either protect yourself from the world or build more of you around yourself. And very often for people who have the fat in that area, excessive fat in that area, and only that area of their body, right? It is usually because they're developing their solar plexus center, right? Which is their center of, and that's how you start reading it, right? Like, what is this center, this energy center? What is it responsible for? So your solar plexus is your self-concept, is how do you position yourself in society? It is also your warrior center. Actually, your solar plexus is where your warrior lives. So for very, very often for people that feel like they have to be in a warrior stance and they have to defend themselves. And by the way, not all of them feel like a victim, but it is a very similar vibration, right? Because if you're in a warrior stance, expecting the world to hit you, so to say, right? That's why you're in a warrior stance, because you're going to defend yourself. Then there is a similarity to the victim mentality, right? It's just this victim lives, on top of living in your root center, it also lives in your solar plexus, right? So you're going to have to work with, the shadow aspect of this center as well. And very often, there is excess, again, fat in this area. When you're trying to give more, how do I put this? Like when you don't feel important enough, if that makes sense. Like somehow you feel like you're either invisible or there are like big powers in the world or in your life that somehow always have the upper hand. That would be the reason that you would want to develop extra fat in that part of your body because, in your warrior stance, it gives you more stability. So you subconsciously crave stability. You subconsciously maybe crave power and control. And when you cannot get that, when you feel like somebody else is in control, somebody else has power, you're not empowered, that is when you're going to start developing that extra layer of fat cells around your belly area. So working on healing your warrior is actually very, very beautiful for you. Working on understanding that if you always stand in a warrior stance, this world is going to give you adversaries. If you lay down your arms and if you start raising your vibration to the heart space, then you understand that the truth of this universe is oneness. And if the truth of this universe is oneness, then as a warrior, who are you fighting against? Yourself. What is the point of fighting against yourself? And that is where you can start your journey of homecoming. Accepting yourself for who you are, not needing to build more, not needing to be more substantial for other people to have your best interest at heart. And the moment you remove this resistance, the moment you lay down your arms, the world is going to shift. It's going to stop responding to you as if it needs to fight you. It's going to start responding to you as if you're one of it, as if you are one. All right. I'll take one last question around this. The question is it the same for when children put on weight as opposed to when adults put on weight? It is actually very similar, yes. When kids put on weight, and I'm not talking toddlers, okay? Toddlers have to be chubby. That's normal. We're talking like, I guess, 7-year-olds, right? Or something like that. Yes, it is a protective mechanism, 1,000,000,000%. So if you have a child that has issues around this, look for the trauma. Look at where that child is not getting acceptance. Look at where that child may not feel like they're enough. And talk to them. Talk to them. And obviously, you know, as a parent, like being a parent is like the hardest job, frankly. But your words matter as a parent. With your words, you can heal your child, right? So build them up instead of tearing them down. That is the most important thing that you can do for your child. And if your child perceives the world around them as hostile, show them the road, show them the way, right? Because in some ways, you can be the healer that your child needs until they're of age to do all this shadow work, right? And it comes through a lot of love and through some conversations and assurances, because what your child needs from you is an assurance. Because the only way the child starts building up this defense is when they feel they're on their own, like you're not there for them. The moment you show up like you're there for them, they're going to feel less in need of that protective barrier. Alrighty, my darlings, this is all for today. I know this is a very controversial topic, and frankly, enough of you are going to be unhappy that I even brought up this topic, but it has been requested, and I have so much love for you, so much deep love, and I wish that your human experience, your physical experience, is as pleasurable as it can be. And if for some of you weight has been an issue, then this video is for you, and that's why I made it. Alrighty, I'm sending you a virtual hug. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.